is a company that I co-founded with two friends of mine, and the three of us met in Geneva, but I come from Belgium, and Margot, one of the other girls, come from France, and the third one is like half French and half British. The functioning of the company is that whomever has an idea and time and energy makes a project, and the two other help with artistic and administrative support. And so the SenseMaker is my artistic work, this solo is based, on different. There is, I think, different ways of understanding it, but I would say that my three main inspiration were waiting on the phone for hours with like music and like having to hold online. Trying to get my work permit in Switzerland, and the auditions for dance companies. So it's a bit of mix of all of that. But I think it's very free to a lot of different interpretations. So I don't know if there are anything you want to know more about.
Yeah, let's open the discussion. So, is there anyone who want to ask a question to the artist, or just like share a thought or a comment or feedback, whatever?
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really good fun, really engaging, really accessible, and it just had me laughing all the way through. I thought it was really, really well measured. But I wondered, did you begin with this vocabulary of gestures first, or did you begin with the sound bites being put together?
Yeah, that's a good question. A bit of both, actually, because there is one part in which I do the same gestures all over again on different texts, and I created that really like the text and the gestures all together. But I would say that I spent at least as much time making the soundtrack than making the movements. So yeah, thank you for the question.
Anyone else? No? Okay, so arriving to this point in which anyone has nothing to say, I've been reading like the feedback podcast from yesterday because that's my work. So I have an approximate idea what people said about your shows yesterday. And that's, I think, one of the things that came most in your show that I think it could be interesting to comment here. It's like the lots of people saying they like your show, they like it a lot, but there's people making a difference, like if there were two parts in your show, like people liking a lot the part with the music and the gestures, and saying we didn't like that much the narrative part, like at the beginning, or people saying we enjoy a lot the narrative thing and the story, but the thing in the middle with the gestures and that we didn't get that much. So I thought it could be an interesting thing, like if you think that they are addressed to different kinds of audience, or do you think there are different languages, or you think you know what I mean? You think that they're right somehow? That there are two different shows in your show, or no? Do you feel like
that's really interesting that you said it, because actually the part with the gestures and the different texts is a part that I created 5 years ago for another solo, and that I put in this piece. I reworked it and I made it like longer, but the idea comes from 5 years ago, while the idea of the phone and the rest of the concept comes from last year. So it's interesting that, yeah, obviously people saw that. But to me, what it meant to put that part in the rest of the solo is because the name of the solo is the SenseMaker, so it's the whole piece for me is about like, does it make sense? Does it have any meaning? And these texts for me is just about okay, the atmosphere is absurd. Like the universe here doesn't mean anything. I'm supposed to leave a message, and the message that I leave doesn't mean anything. Yeah, so I guess that's probably what people saw in that. But for me, the the texts, the way they are related to the rest of the piece is that if you listen to each of them, they are whether a criticism of the society or the place in which the people who talk are, whether reinforcing this fitting the box thing.
Perfect. I mean, it's like, is there anyone wanting to say something? Any other comments on the show?
Yeah, we had a conversation afterwards about whether the piece is about gender or not, and we couldn't quite work out whether it was or wasn't, because obviously the way that you're dressed it would suggest that it kind of creates a little bit of a comment on that, and on the moment when you kind of start dancing and have this kind of like almost moment of emancipation from this voice and from this kind of ringtone, but then as a full piece, I don't know if it's longer, do you have even more of a comment on that, or do you push that even further?
Well, the piece, that's the piece, so it's not like I didn't cut anything. It's the full length. It's 30 minutes. But well, I wouldn't say that it is that gender in the piece is really like something that I worked on. But it's more that I worked on trying to fit a certain box, like this job interview thing. And because I'm a woman, then of course I meet some of the difficulties that women face while searching a job. For example, when the voice asks me a question, she asks me at some point, are you pregnant and do you intend to be pregnant in the next 5 years? And well, it's illegal to ask this question at a job interview, actually. But still, some people ask it, and it is seen as something that can make you lose the job as a woman. So I think because I am a woman, I made this solo regarding that. But if I had made the same solo for a man, it also could have worked, except probably the questions would have been like slightly different and the movements would have been slightly different. I think it's also like in the part where I'm supposed to show the full extent of my motivation and energy, and I end up being like sexually seductive. That's also for me because as a woman you are encouraged to do that, to find a job. So yeah, I think that's the reason why that's in the piece. It's because it's me performing it, but it's not like especially about gender.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment something?
Yeah, thank you very much for I really enjoyed the evening. I have a question, maybe not so much about that piece, but in general about the collaborative work, because you said you are in the collective of 3 artists. So actually, how does the work actually constitutes itself? How does the creative process actually looks like?
Well, we tried to create pieces together, but we quickly noticed that we had different artistic views and that it's not the best way to express ourselves. So we are a collective in the way that we help each other with the paperwork, with the promotion, with everything that's not artistic. But when one of us decides to create a piece, it's like her project. So of course the 2 other ones are there to say what they think about it, to help out. But mainly they will help out with everything that's not artistic.
Anything else? Okay, maybe we move on to the next show. We say thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and all your process with us. So let's move to the second piece we saw yesterday. That's Portraits and Short Stories from Panama Pictures, from the Netherlands. Yeah, here you are.
Thank you. I'm the choreographer of the show you saw yesterday and the artistic director of the company. And Mick is one of our dancers, but he's also he's my assistant and training the company. The company consists of performers trained in circus, coming from circus schools, and others trained in contemporary dance. And it's important for me to mix the disciplines, to really mingle and try to get a new language out of it. And with this new language, I'm not looking for the most spectacular movements. Perhaps they're in there, but it's not about that. So it's not like in classical circus where you really wait for the salto, and if it doesn't work out, they try it 3 times. We try to incorporate all the circus-like movement in our dance approach, and trying to give it a really a human touch, so that it's not about the form and the aesthetics, but that it says something mainly about the relationships of the people on stage. Our inspiration source for the piece we showed yesterday, which is actually just the first part of the piece, it's a piece that lasts an hour. For us, it's about family relations and how they can shift through time. So how your position as being the youngest in the family, how does this influence you? What if you grow older, get children? What if you are a grandparent, you have to make space for the others? Like all these positioning, shifting that were the main inspiration source. Also really important for us, like what do you pass on to your children, or as a child, how you realize, shit, I'm like my mom and I never intended to be, or all of these issues we try to incorporate in our work.
Does anyone want to say something or share any comments or feedback? Or
Hey, so I definitely, I noticed the thing about there being different ages and sort of stages in life, but I was sort of wondering about the decision to use only men, because I felt like the piece was, I read into a lot of it was sort of like about relationships within masculinity and sort of how the different relationships from rivalry and sort of slightly antagonistic relationships to vulnerability and support and sort of more emotional needs, and that they were sort of how they shift and combine, and that's sort of what I saw into it about being specifically masculinity, I guess, because it was only men on stage. I was wondering if you could say something about that.
Yeah, all the movement we use, all the scenes we create are coming from improvisation. So, so there are men. So there are men on stage. So it's about male relationships. And what I like about working with men or seeing men moving and dancing on stage is that it has a certain roughness to it. And then, as I said before, I'm looking for the human side of it. And I often have what I see, a very personal thing, but women dancing, it's like more aesthetic. And I see more dancers and then in the male dance, I can go more for the dynamics and what I said, the roughness or the human side of it. And we have a nearly all male company.
So I don't really have experiences with dance, but I liked it so much because it was kind of cinematographic for me. It reminded me of a movie, and it had a flow throughout the whole piece. And I wondered, because I liked also the stage, the setting, with the color gray, and it was all in these shades of gray and beige. So was it your purpose or of the actors or dancers to choose those dresses because it seemed to be improvised or something comfy which you really like to wear, but it also fitted so well together so that you could really dive into the piece.
Yeah, we actually have a costume designer and a set designer doing it. I like the improvisational look of it, so that you have the feeling, oh yeah, it could just be clothes they are wearing, but we do start with a certain color scale, like every time with the costume, to deciding, okay, that's a bit the universe, and these are the colors belonging to it, and then we are trying to find costumes that look like they could just wear them, but that highlights a little bit of their character or that suits the world. Yeah.
There was a massive measure of tenderness in it and honesty that I really, really enjoyed, that you wouldn't normally get, I don't think, in classical or contemporary dance, because it's usually so much about technique that honesty can get compromised sometimes, and I found that really refreshing. I thought it was really enjoyable.
Thank you. That's a great compliment.
I was just wondering about your choice of music and what whether music was integral to the piece, and in terms of initially, or it was brought on later, and the pieces that you chose.
It's especially composed for the piece, and already worked together with the duo of two composers for quite a long time. So every process we start like from zero, thinking and dreaming about how it should sound like, and they give me some existing music tracks that I use during the improvisation, and then they come and watch, and we decide what does work, what doesn't, and then they write the music to this, and the music keeps on being composed really till the last moment. They keep on shifting, so it's especially made for the piece.
And is it made in terms of either an instigator or a response to physical movement, or is how much? How can I put this? Is there some other things going on there?
It's a bit like, it works a bit like a soundtrack for a movie. So we are mainly discussing where we want the audience to be emotional-wise. Like we're trying to guide and color scenes. So it's never, the movement is never made on the music. We don't count anything. So it's really just to guide the emotion, actually.
If there's no one else wanting to say anything, I would like, again, take one of the main thoughts of the featured postcards, which I think it's interesting to talk about, because it's a topic I'm also worried a lot when working with dance. There's lots of people, of course, saying they love your show, people saying it's the best show, the best dance show they've ever seen, lots of them. But there's people saying they feel a lack of narrative, which I think that's more interesting to turn the question into, is it necessary to give a narrative storyline inside the dance performance? Personally, I think that it's not necessary, and that dance should go beyond that. But there's also, which I find curious, that there's other people saying, I love the narrative in this piece. You know what I mean? There's people saying it lack narrative, but some others say because about the movement there's consensus. Let's say everyone but about the and it's like, what do you think these people saying they love the narrative in your piece? What are they referring to? What do you think they're referring to? You know what I mean? And also, what do you think about this subject? Do you think it's necessary narrative storyline inside that to make the dance more? I don't know. What's the purpose of the narrative in dance? Make it more accessible, more comprehensible, less abstract? I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
The two narrative thoughts. I think what is connecting the audience, liking this narrative part, is that we move from action-reaction with each other. So it's not about the movement, but it's about the interaction between human beings. And maybe that's the one narrative thing that they enjoy, that to see people first and then see them move. And that's how I really like to work on, that we first become a human being and then allow our technique or whatever we have to come out of that. And then the other narrative thing is always also something that we always think about, and I think that it's nice that there's not a clear narrative thing, because I don't want to, or I think Pia also don't want to push you in a direction of thinking it has to be this. So it's still open for everybody to step on the train and to ride the ride with us, and to bring in their own memories and their own story and their own thing in it. So in one hand we want to be narrative because we don't want to become movement machines, and in the other hand we don't want to have this storyline completely like that. So.
Yeah, just a small thing, because I think people also like to understand. So I often have, after a performance, that they ask me, so was it about this? Because I saw, and I always say, yes, exactly. It was exactly about this. Because I think that's it. Like, see what you want to see, get out what you want to see, and then that's the story that I wanted to tell.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I even thought that maybe it's like, it's nice if we teach the people that they can enjoy even things that they cannot understand. You know what I mean? Like, you can enjoy things you can't understand. It's not the same thing. That's because that's something. It's fine. We can move on to the same. Is there someone wanting to say something about this show? Because it makes the perfect relation with the next one. I think because I read a feedback about Marco, saying it's the worst choreography I've ever seen because it's absolutely incomprehensible. And then I say, like, there's someone thinking if you cannot understand it, it's the worst thing you can ever see. So it's something I would like to put on the table for the rest of the discussion. Like, it's that relationship absolutely necessary with comprehension and like quality of work or whatever. So let's move to the third show we suggest today. That's Everything's Okay, from Marco D'Agostin. Marco is supposed to be watching me by Facebook and realizing if I'm doing well, like trying to explain his show. So, yeah. Okay, he explained me yesterday, more or less, that he was beginning his work from a point of trying to find tiredness on the audience. He even told me an essay on tiredness by Peter Hanke as the book he read and that became the inspiration for the work. So there is this idea of tiredness, and Peter Hanke saying that once, like, you need to be tired, you need to leave the space to your brain to do nothing, to let the things come to you, to let some kind of comprehension come to you. And then beyond that, he was talking about some neuroscientism approach to the thing, and he was saying that now it's proof that this thing that they appear on the essay, it's now proof scientifically. I mean, like, for our brains to feel emotion or to feel, to organize our memories or to be able to organize our thoughts, we need to have these moments of doing nothing. And in that sense, he tried to make the audience be tired of watching him. And in that sense, it was because I asked him, okay, that's fine, but what's the border between tiredness and boredom? Because it appears also in some of the cars, and it's something I guess it could happen. And he said, the thing is that I want the brains of the audience to be tied to the moment that they make their own connections. Even like the moment you feel, I don't know, because I was quite surprised as an audience member, because normally if you are an audience member and you feel you are not paying attention to the show you're watching, you feel like that's a mistake or something you're not doing well as an audience member, I don't know. Or you feel guilty about whatever, I'm tired, whatever. But that's something he was looking for. The moment in which you stop paying attention to the show, your brain is making other connections or imagining other things, and that's also coming from the show, somehow. I don't know if I'm explaining myself, you know? And in that, yeah, I think that's more or less the presentation of what he wanted to say about the show. They have some answers for some of the questions you may have, or not, who knows? And so, is there anyone? Marco is going to be watching this, or also any feedback? He will be thanking a lot. Any feedback about the show or any comments? It doesn't have to be a question. He will be like watching this. Yes.
I actually had the pleasure of sitting next to Marco for lunch, and I said, you know, what's your show about? And he said, it's about what people choose to watch. And I didn't read kind of the blurb of what the show was going to be, and I just went in with that one line. And for me, actually, in terms of him saying he wanted to tire us out, I kind of understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, as I watched it and tried to understand and connect this sentence that he'd given me and his work, I started to gather these lovely pop culture flecks of imagery, and which was slowly connecting all together. And so for me, it wasn't necessarily a tiredness, it was that state of waiting until the next recognizable image came along. I thought it was incredibly clever, and I only uncovered what he meant and that kind of really succinct line he gave me kind of 4 or 5 minutes into it. So for me, I thought it was brilliant, and I think I understand what he means by tiredness, but I don't think it's what I understand the definition to be of tiredness.
Yeah, it's also a feedback from me, just to say that I was like really impressed by his theatrical and dance skills, and like the amount of dance material that he put in his piece, because it's just so many movements and so precise. And it's really nice to know that he wanted us to be tired, because I felt like at some point that he was doing like so many movements that actually my head was kind of like going away. And well, as you said, like once he did something more clear or theatrical, I was like back in it, and then again going away and back in it. And yeah, I really enjoyed watching that.
I'd like to congratulate him if he is watching. Congratulations. I like the piece very, very much. I'm not especially keen on dance. I mean, I'm not a specialist on dance, or what is obvious. And but it's interesting. Equally, I was in my big pot of coffee. I was tired at the beginning. The first part, when he raps and makes this kind of static beginning, but I thought it's wonderful. And it surprised me, the second part, when he started dancing and the way he danced, because I say I'm not a specialist in dance, but I thought there's something weird in his way of dancing, because he was not focusing on making the perfect movement until the end. No, he was, my opinion, or my more focused on putting the most number of figures of significance, of sense, of like overloading. And I felt just the same way. At some point, I felt tired, physically tired. I thought, wow. And more. So he insisted. So I think his strategy worked perfectly. So congratulations. And well.
Super, thank you. Anyone else wants to say something to the to Marco, an existing Marco?
Just how much was improvised, or was every movement set? Does he has improvisation in it?
Everything's set. Everything's set. Yeah, I have it here. All the movements were fixed. Yeah. He told me that. Yeah, everything was fixed.
It's the same show we saw.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say to Marco? Marco, where is the camera, by the way?
It's audio.
It's only audio. Okay. I thought it was like everything. Yeah, is there anything else? I have some more information I can give you. Like about the ending and about the thing with the beginning. So I was asking him, maybe there's someone asking like, what's the point of the beginning in the thing with the boys, because that's a very big difference. And there's a lot of people also saying in the postcards that the very beginning was great and they like the theatrical skills, but they don't like at all the dance part. So I think also in that case he succeeded in the idea of getting people tired. I even read something that say that he's a great. In fact, that one I told you before, it's incredible. I write it down because it says the feedback. It's a great 5 times performer with the worst choreography because it was absolutely incomprehensible. That was, I was saying that before. No, what's the thing with you? Should we even like give it to the audience if that's what they want, the comprehension of the things, or don't? Or should we like being still resisting? Not giving meanings or absolutely done meanings to the audience, whatever. Let's move, if you want, to the. Is there anything else for Marco? No. So let's move to the 4th show, the last one we saw yesterday night. Oh.
I think over all the pieces, both from Tuesday and from last night up to here, because the 4th one was so different. The sheer level of physicality in all of them was amazing. It wasn't a case of being bored, it was a case of just feeling so tired, just watching. And it seemed to be in all the pieces, the level of strength that was I mean, in your piece especially, just hanging in the air. We all know it looks so easy, but oh, it's just incredible. And with Marco's dance, the thing just went on, and you felt it. You thought it's only 30 minutes, and you thought it must end, and then it carried on, and then it carried on. And the same in all the other pieces. They've really shown the level. I don't know whether it's been deliberate in the programming or not, but the level of energy is just amazing over all of them.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Yeah. So, you have the microphone? Yeah. No, I mean, we are passing to your piece, so you could already go for your presentation of the That's My Country's What the Sea Doesn't Want from Casa da Esquina, yes, from Portugal.
So, my name is Ricardo, Rita and Sara, and we came from Coimbra. It's a city between Lisbon and Porto, a very old city with one of the oldest universities in Europe. So I have a lot of new students. Casa da Esquina is just a project that was born not just to do theater-based projects, but we also have a lot of thinking about solidarity, economical things, philosophy. So it's kind of an old building where we do a lot of creation, but also different things, and we have a lot of different people from around Coimbra area that work in different fields, and so everyone just feed all the house. Yeah, and that's it. I was an actor from a repertory theater company for a long time, And then I just get bored and start to work on my own projects and invited people I like it to work. So that's the work I do.
He's asking me to put the microphones closer to the mouths for the sound, for sound recording. Everyone I tried to remember, but okay. And for the show we saw yesterday, what do you want to say? Some words about the process, the show?
That show was born when I was living in London. So it was like the show tells about. It was about all this recession we were feeling in Portugal and all these European South countries, and all my friends were in London with me. So everyone just looked to be there. And you felt a lot of. This movement of these skilled persons and all this knowledge that you have in the south that are going to north Europe, and they are, just sucking, just our resources. And I felt that I needed to talk about it. Of course, it was a great excuse to be with my friends and to interview them and not to be alone in this big city. So when I came back to Portugal, I decided to work on that. The first cast I had Felipe Malva, that is my set designer, and Jonathan, that is an American light designer. And we worked together in several projects, not just in Casa da Esquina, but also in University of Theatre there. And then we toured in Portugal like 2 years, and then we went to Brazil last year. We were in Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, and at FIT in Belo Horizonte, and we finished the tour. To be honest, Miguel, I didn't acknowledge that I had my application to be festival. So when you said, "Oh, maybe you could come," and say, "Oh." I was not okay because we were not touring more the show, but it's very intimate, so it's very inside. Then we cast again. Rita and Sarah work with me also. Rita is from Movement, and Sarah is doing a PhD in theatre in Coimbra. So we just rehearsal and bring that here, and in a way I think it's quite different, like you said. The other shows I also saw, but in a way I also felt every shows that are here, they go to different areas, and they are the BFSL don't have like a core things, just pointing different things that are vibrant, I think. So that's nice. So what was the worst thing they say about the show?
Well, let's open the discussion first, and then if there's no one, I go to the notebook. So is there? Yeah.
Thanks. I really enjoyed it. But there's quite a lot in the show about London and about moving to London and not being from London. And that's from your own, excuse me, it's from your own experience. And it just brings up a thing that this is talking about a slightly bigger thing, but I think part of the problem in the UK at the moment is a London centricity, and that's politically and socially why there's so much, you could argue, so much inequality in the UK, and why people are so frustrated and why Brexit happened. Because there's a perception that London is the UK when it really isn't. And I guess, it was your experience because you lived in London, but I wondered what you think about that in terms of when you put that into your work.
I know very well Newcastle, so I know this is quite different to live in London and to live in Newcastle, or maybe here in Birmingham. And I really felt that. I think it's about to in a way, to live in a big city, but also I think it is about this movement of knowledge about south and north that we have, these epistemologies that we can, like that mappa mundi, we can just transfer it. So it was about it, but I think it's a personal view with a lot of like a jigsaw of testimonies and different point of views. Of course, I did half of the show because the show have 1 hour and something, so it had a different point of views that were not here. I think so. I think. Did I answer you?
Yeah. I guess I'm interested in your view on it, but I'm also interested, I suppose, I'm interested in everybody's view on, well, especially people who are not from the UK, on that idea that, because there's always London is like a magnet, and there's a draw there, and that's kind of, like I was saying, that's kind of the problem we're going through in the UK at the moment. So I'm just interested in people's thoughts on that as a...
Yeah, but last year I was in Leipzig working with different theater companies from there and from Barcelona, and they had a march, a demonstration from the really neo-Nazis right wing in the city, and we went to another demonstration against that, and it was quite strange because I was in this side. And there was this empty thing with a big royal cafe. And the other side, I just saw old guys and very old guys like my nanny. And I was like, wow, am I in the right side or not? So this increasing of populism also we are feeling in Europe. I don't know. How can we fight it? Is there a cure for that? I don't know. What can we I think we can discuss. I think we can exchange point of views. And I feel that also this idea of to be like this art camp where we can introduce to ourselves and see things in a different perspectives can help to just cut all these bad things that we are living. Yeah.
I was really interested in the piece because obviously you're talking from a perspective of someone who's moving to the UK and then experiencing what it feels like to be an immigrant somewhere. Even if it's just a European immigrant, it still is being away from home and being away from your country, which is always this kind of what you described, this feeling of saudade, which I think a lot of people could really relate to in the audience, because obviously the fact that this European festival means that a lot of people could really, understand this. But I had a bit of a problem with the tone that I'm on the other side of the fence, obviously, because I live in the UK. But I thought that maybe the way that the British population was portrayed in the piece was, I would say a little bit disrespectful. The guy from customs, the way that this kind of like conversation I felt was, and then also the thing about Brexit being brought in, but in such a kind of, it's such a big thing here that I think, I don't know, I felt like maybe it was very understandable from the point of view of the person who's coming here, but maybe not so well understood by the people whose country it is. And that's coming from someone I talked to afterwards who said she felt quite uncomfortable.
I think that's good to feel uncomfortable. I think that's our role is to just to do that, I think that's good.
I will say, like as like the other part of there was a moment you asked who is from Spain or who is from Portugal. I also felt uncomfortable as Spanish, like in this kind of, I feel uncomfortable in the way like I don't know, I've never feel I'm the one with bad luck in this world. We've all lived. And it's clear that there are people in Spain starving and having bad conditions and unemployment and stuff, and in Portugal also. But it's quite like, I felt strange putting ourselves, like Southern Europeans, as victims. Like when there are like, I think people suffering much more than us. And like, in some kind, I felt ridiculous, the way of, like making the dramatic scene over the border thing with the passport. Because still I came here to the UK, and there's a line for European Union people, and you go on that line, and there's a lot of people, like say non-European, lots of people in the other line. So you go fast, and you go with the ID card, and you go. So it's, I don't know, I felt it could be like strange. You know what I mean? So it's in that sense I could accept it could be interesting to make some people uncomfortable. But if both sides maybe are uncomfortable, I don't know. What do you think about that? Or like if you have these feelings, the performances, or it's all. I also like when reading the feedback postcards. It's quite like there are lots of people saying they like a lot the show and they feel super identified with the show. But yeah, as you said, they're like not British people. Most of them like Spaniards, Italians, and in that sense, I think it works. You know what I mean? Like I don't think like most of the Southern Europeans yesterday felt uncomfortable as I did. Maybe most of them felt like represented on but still, I don't know. I think it's like wow, like so simple. So in some of the case, like I think like as you said before, like the northern countries sucking the thing from the southern countries. I think there's like a lot of blame in our same countries. I don't know what's going on in Portugal that much, but in Spain there are a lot of Spaniards sucking a lot of public money from the people, and they're Spaniards. They are not people from other countries, and I feel that it's nice to make a critic on other cultural perspective or whatever, but I think that's better if it came from a critic on yourself, and I was missing that critic or that irony level with the Southern European culture. You know what I mean? It appears as if everything in Southern Europe was nice, and in the rest, no, you know what? Yeah, and it's not. We all know that it's not. And in that case, you say before, what's the worst comment they had? I write one down. I don't think it's the worst, but I think it's quite like. It says. I think it's quite like. She says, or he. I don't know. Saying that Germans, it's other thing. Like the financial system is the same as saying that Portuguese are lazy. Why so many stereotypes? We want to get rid of them, not to create more stereotypes. And I think it could, I don't know, I think there's something of this there. I don't know, and I wanted to ask you if you had this idea of like making some irony or distance or critique on our culture, on Southern European culture or Portuguese culture. Do you think it's in the show and I didn't see it? Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. I think everyone will watch the show with his or her eyes, so it will be different for each one of us. And of course, I can't, say you represent Spain or Spanish or that or this and that. But I felt when we were doing the show and generating also the material, our light designer is from the States, and every year he goes there, and every year he have more and more problems. And one year he said, because he have his wife and a little baby, he said they were really picking with him, and he said, why can't I visit my homeland? It was like also this. When we came to B Festival, Sara, she's from Brazil, they put her aside. And it was really, whoa, what's happening, and they have to call Kate, our guest house, and to see if everything was okay. So I feel that this is this is happening. I didn't want it to victimize the South European countries because we have a lot of problems, corruption, all these systems, all the banking that they are similar the way they do. But I feel that each person will see with different perspectives. I think when we did it in Portugal, we also did it for different persons, a lot of students, also people from England, Australia, and I think people connect. They go back or they accept it, feel representative. In Brazil last year was really nice because we had. It was all this impeachment process of Dilma. So when I was cutting the T-shirt, they were just, screaming, "Fora Temer, fora!" And it was like kind of this tumultuous thing. But I think it deals and plays with these all these stereotypes, like you said. Who is this and that, and did you feel represented about that or not? And I think it have this kind of irony that sometimes hurts, sometimes not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, me again. This has brought up something interesting about, obviously, nationalities. And it's actually a question for Miguel and maybe Isla, but she's not around. When I was asked to be part of B Festival, it was asked my nationality, and I've got a British passport, so I kind of put British because that's how I'm defined. Or if anybody asks, it's United Kingdom. But quite a long way along the process, I was kept being mentioned as being from England, specifically England. It was always England, and I'm quite uncomfortable with that. I'm quite uncomfortable as being defined as being of England, and I know I'm not the only person who is. So if anywhere, sounds cheesy, like I'm a human being. That's like where it starts. That's if anything, I'll just be defined by my passport, I suppose. I wondered how important it was for you and the festival to specifically have nationalities and what the thinking was. If that's not too uncomfortable.
No, not uncomfortable at all. The reason why we, at the beginning, was said England and all that is because some artists last year asked just the opposite as you asked. So they wanted for it to be specified that they were from Scotland and not from the UK. So we just assumed that was okay to keep that rule, but then when you asked us to just broaden it up to UK, we decided to put everyone UK. So sorry if that was uncomfortable. It wasn't meant that way.
No, I understand because I have Scottish friends and Welsh friends, and there I am. I'm calling them Scottish and Welsh and Irish, and I know that they're quite uncomfortable about being associated with England. So it's a strange one. I don't know, it's kind of person to person, but these things are very prescient right now,
Yeah,
kind of
and then
how
I
people
guess
see their identity.
There's a wider thought about that, which is each company is labeled as a country. Well, I guess for the audience, it's nice to know if a company is based somewhere. It's true, for example, the German company with aerobics we saw on Tuesday. I think there's just one German person, and she's not even dancing. So, that's the reality nowadays of artists. They might live in another country and then work in a third country. So where we are from, well, that's, I think, a discussion to develop with David in a few minutes. But we just decide to label on the country where the artist is based. Not necessarily that means that the artists are from that country, but you are based in England, I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Is there anyone wanting to say something about the fourth show? Or maybe it's a good moment to move on the...
I just wanted to ask a question because yesterday during the show you mentioned that you were having difficulties to play it in English. And, you know, at any point did we impose that idea on you or anything, but you made that decision, and I just wondered whether you felt the show had changed by you or the tone, because what you said about the tone, I felt at the beginning that especially at the beginning, less so later on in the show, but when, in particular that scene with the costumes, I did feel that the tone of the piece had changed quite a lot by you doing it in English, and I just wanted to know whether that was conscious or not, or...
I think everything was conscious, what we tried to did, but it was really hard to do it in English, but I felt that all the show is about this direct communication, so I was trying to be more connected to people, so I thought it's better to do it in English than to have, you know, all people just looking to subtitles. And so, you know, I just tried and trained it a lot. But I think some things, tone, rhythm, they change because this is physicality that we have to work, and intentions just vanish, and sometimes it's hard to do it. But I think it was in that terms, I think it was a good exercise, and I was quite worried about if everything was going to going there, and you know, if I could have this feedback. So I was doing, and also trying to look if everyone was just you know, catching and doing, and I think that the show. In all the part that I do the interview is like it's always a risk. Could be a really good interview with the people. Sometimes I just have one person that says yes, no. This it's really hard, and I try to pick it up. Yeah, but I feel in a way all this is just different point of views of. A parcel of reality that I brought, and I did the transposition, but it's a parcel of reality, parcel of point of views, of also this reconstruction of identity that we are dealing in Europe, in Portugal, in every country, with these little nationalities that we have, also in Portugal, in Spain, Catalonia, this and Galicia, you know, and England. So I think it's also people. I tried just to bring the what I lived it and what I heard, and to put it on stage, and yeah, that's it.
I was interested at the point where you're cutting your shirt and you sort of equate austerity as a thing. I mean, like you were saying about the victims being southern states, but that you were sort of contrasting arriving in the UK with austerity in places like Portugal and Spain. And I found that interesting because one of the major conversations politically in the UK at the moment is about whether or not there should be austerity, because we have had austerity here since the coalition government in 2010. So that's actually 7 years of austerity that have been taking away things in like large aspects of our health service. You mentioned your health service being cut away, and I found it interesting that you sort of used that as a point of difference between the countries, when I felt like, if anything, that should be a point of solidarity, that a lot of countries are dealing with austerity. So I was wondering why you felt that there was a difference between these two, or why that was a point to be different.
Actually, in London, I met a lot of people, like people united against austerity, or pigs in London, or you know. So I met a lot of different organizations that came together and was transnational and were trying to, you know, to work together. But I do feel that we had all these recessions since 2008, and we worked with a person that did a study, a sociologist, Rui Pena Pires. And he just interviewed a lot of people that were really, and I was focused on these new skilled immigrants, and they were really, you know, just all the public financial like medicus. Doctors and nurses and artists and everyone, and then you don't have any capacity to go beyond that. I was telling to Ruth, where we are staying, that my generation, we felt that you know, my parents, they have the primary school and they work in a factory. So my generation, my cousins, they have all these, the first ones that had access to universities. And I felt, and I think that we just climbed all the stairs, and nowadays with that austerity, they said, oh, go back, you know, all the dreams that you were trying. And we had this awful right-wing government in Portugal, that was doing worse and worse and privatizing everything in else and cutting the culture funds and grants, education. So it was a pain in the ass, all these austerity measures that we had. And nowadays, luckily, we have a left-wing government that is trying to get things up. But I feel this, like you said, all these austerities, we should play together. And I felt that in London, that there is a lot of groups that are transnational that are trying to achieve that communion on the fight, and not to be a transnational, to a national thing against other, but to try to fight that. But I felt. In Portugal, that's where I live, I can speak for it, we just have, you know, they were cutting our legs in everything with this austerity, earn less, work more, and more and more, and you know, all people from my generation that have degrees, they just, you know, try to get out the country. I'm victimizing, maybe, but I think that's what we are living, and of course everything now is global, and we can't like 40 years ago I could say, oh, I have a regime, a dictator, and it's you. Now I don't know where to point. Is you know? Okay, no, it's the bank. No, is where Goldman Sachs? No, is there? So we don't know where to head. So the fight is harder than that, you know, because everything is gray. You don't have a black and white tone. Everything is gray.
Yes. Okay, first of all, sorry about my English, but I am listening a lot of testimonies here, and it's clear. Yeah, maybe I didn't feel uncomfortable yesterday about your show, because of course this is not about bad people and good people and north and south, but okay, if we are realistic and if we talk with the hand to the core, it's a real thing that there are differences between North and South in Europe, in the whole world, but in Europe there is. I'm from Barcelona. I'm living in Madrid, but I grew up with everything I needed, everything. For me, I mean, I'm afortunada. I'm a lucky girl. Lucky, but as me, I think most of you have friends around the world and around the Europe, and it's true in my natal city in Barcelona. I'm not afford to buy a single flat, for example, but there are a lot of people from North Europe that can buy the flats in my city, because the economical system is different between North and South. It's not about people, it's maybe about our politicians or whatever, but it's, I don't know, it's a reality. No, I don't know in English, but no escondamos la cabeza debajo del ala, no? I don't know in English. It's like, don't put your head under your, you know, like under your wings. I think everybody here know what is talking about, and I don't know. Just I wanted to clear that is something. I felt a little bit uncomfortable with some kind of comments here, but I think, or I felt that commentary is like a little bit hypocritical, fakes, I don't know in English, but yeah, like, yeah, because it's not everything nice, you know, it's not like, there are differences, there are, and it's, this is for real. I mean, there are differences between living in Greece or in Spain or in Italy. There are differences between living in North Italy and South Italy, and there are differences to grow up in Catalonia as me or grow up in South Spain. There are, and it's like this, and it's the same in Europe. So, yeah.
But I think, isn't that less, or becoming less about geography and equally more about economics, really? Because, you know, I can't afford to live in London. Well, you know, supposedly it's my capital city. You know, it's not. But do you know what I mean? I can't afford to live in London. You know, and I have plenty of friends from different countries that can. There's no resentment from me. I'm just saying it's economics, isn't it? And I think that's the same everywhere.
I think for me it's this kind of like you were saying, a struggle of class. It's about economical thing, and it's like a lot of people, like I don't know, a writer like Eduardo Galeano that talks about this perpetuation of a system, and I feel it's about that. It's about that we are in that machine and we can go out, and of course, yeah, I think that they are different.
Politics are economics.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, and not about nationalities or geography. Yeah.
That's why I think I understood the show as what I think you try to express, yes, an economical problem, but politicians are just, for me, I don't know, pieces on the economic system.
Well, you said you don't mind if people feel uncomfortable in the audience. So I can say to you, I would list, because I feel you continuously focus on who are the good guys, who are the bad guys, who are the good nation. The left is the good, the right is the bad guys. The people governing your country, when there was right, now they're left. Brexit is bad, okay. But I suggest you to go deeper in that reflection, because I like, the most I liked from your piece was when you started talking about Troika, but I missed that you went deeper inside of that. So the rest of the piece for me was a bit superficial. And I think there's a danger in portraying it as a conflict of nationalities. Because you will know there's a saying in the communist, they say, no war between peoples, no peace between classes. And I missed some of that. I find it contradictory in your discourse. I found even the way you spoke about the nationalities more like to the right wing, to those people you were on the other side of the of the manifestation. So I would take care with that, or go deeper with the meanings.
Thank you.
There's someone wanted to say, look, the topic we're gonna, I mean, I think we're gonna make the perfect connection with the topic, Mike. So if you can just get a micro to Mike.
Great. I'm going to sit here. Hello, thank you for that. That's great. We thought we might have a quick comfort break if anybody wants to take literally 2 minutes to either grab a coffee or go to the loo, go to the toilet. But if you could come back here, because the discussion feels like it's really beefing up. So do come back, please. Very well, thank you. Yeah. Water would be great, thank you. Yeah. It's a terrible mistake. They'll never come back.
They'll never come back.
Oh no.
They'll go have a cigarette, they'll come back.
That's it. It was a terrible mistake. What we'll do is we'll do some stage management.
Okay,
3 minutes.
Let's give them 5 minutes.
But I could just see as soon as the swap happened, everyone was standing up anyway. So, so we might rely on you a bit, me and everybody else, to try and get people back in their seats.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm here for a cigarette, so I'll run back.